with me. So here again, focusing on lifestyle, individual lifestyles rather, and this mindset and this awareness. And lastly, we have Sumesh Dugar, who is the CEO of Y-east, an award-winning design and innovation company. He leads a team of designers, engineers, and marketers who are driven to make the impossible possible. He is also the developer and founder of True Emoji, a software which has the power to recognize emotions and revolutionize the way in which humans interact with interfaces. So Sumesh, you're absolutely welcome to go ahead, presenting your overview on climate change, and you have 3 minutes for the same. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Pauline. Thank you for conducting the session really well and giving us takeaways very easily. So here I'd like to talk about my experience of how I figured out climate change is not what is being marketed to us. Like typically you would assume that an email is a better replacement to paper, but if email actually lasts enough time on the server and the server is not coming from a source that is eco-friendly, then you would have more impact or more carbon footprint on the environment. We don't realize is because the larger companies is marketed in a way that is something that will sell their products. So another example of a similar thing would be ebooks. So ebooks, you would generally assume that when it comes to ebooks and books, ebooks are supposed to be the most sustainable solution. However, there is a research on this. If your books are not more than 250 pages, is a normal paper book is better. So, and because also the devices that you are reading on or consuming your content on actually comes from a lot of excavation. So understanding and getting to the root of how every product is created is a challenging affair. And that's why I would lead to the next thing. That's why it is tough for people in third world countries to actually understand what's happening around. Back in Europe or America, what happens is a lot of awareness is there about the production process. Here, companies are not open to disclosing a lot of things. So we as consumers need to realize what's happening, and we need to push for companies to open up where they are excavating their materials from or how it is coming to being. So typically you would assume that just putting a solar panel is something that is eco-friendly. What if there was a whole lot of deforestation behind it? Give it a thought, because the company will sell it as just solar panels, which you would assume is a great marketing thing, and you are taking a good choice. But ultimately, if there was a lot of deforestation to gain the land where you are actually putting out those solar panels, it is not really helping the environment much. Again, delving into the third point, how does India look at this entire scenario of climate change? We need to look at a lot of traditional things that we do. Like an alternative, I would say, gym versus yoga. Gym, you are caught up in machines, you are in a AC chamber, everything that is not so eco-friendly and something that has environmental impact. However, yoga is just performed on a mat, on an open sunny area or a cloudy area, or just inside your room. So just being aware of what you're doing and how it is having impact is something that we need to assess more of, and look internal as Indians, internally towards what solutions have existed all through the eras, and delve deeper rather than just looking westwards and adopting their solutions. So that's as far as my 3 minutes goes.
Thank you so much. I really liked how you presented these insights. I think it was original. The idea that as consumers, we do not have the exact visibility and transparency to exactly understand each and every impact that has been, negative impact on the environment that has been included into the production process, be it for products and services. So maybe there are solutions at the corporate level in terms of transparency to consumers that can be further developed in order for us to make more informed choices when we are choosing a lifestyle or a product in a supermarket or a local market. You mentioned, by the way, it made me think of what we call life cycle assessment. So the idea of calculating the environmental footprint of a particular product. There are a few methodologies that maybe can be used to provide this transparency to the consumers. But you're right in saying that to some extent, sometimes we do not have the required information, sometimes leading to some amount of greenwashing from the companies, in order for us to really have complete visibility on our choices. And last word from you was about how we can get inspired from traditional ways and lifestyles, which in themselves hold a lot of wisdoms towards innovation and solutions for more sustainable practices. I would like to first put across the table, and again, feel free to voluntarily come across with the first element of answer. It seems that climate change, to some extent, yes, we have a role to play as humans. As one of you said, definitely we cannot deny the fact that it's to a great extent a human-created problem. But it seems that we have lost control over the issue. We have lost control on all of these processes and mindsets in terms of especially consumerism and production that are unsustainable. So it seems that we're facing a lot of obstacles and blockages on the way towards achieving efficient climate action. Can one of you, some of you, several of you, tell us what you think are the main collective blockages that do not allow us to move as fast as we would like to on climate action? Anyone would like to take this? Sumesh, do you want to add?
Yeah, so I'd like to come from a different angle here. I think a lot of awareness has been done at our levels, as in we require more of it. But I think at the same time, a lot of awareness needs to be spread at the lower levels as well, or people with not too economically independent or not too economically stable as well. How do you sell something like climate change to a person who does not make enough in a day? So that's a question that we haven't actually delved too much into, because for us, people who are on the internet, etc., who are doing things, we will ultimately get the West message and we'll start adapting things. But for people in India who are not economically too stable, how do we make them or sell them environmental impact that their decisions are having? So for example, farming is a great pollutant, right? How do we explain that to where 60% of our actually the country's GDP comes from? How do we explain that to a farmer, that what actions can he take, like burning crop, etc.? It's not been made aware. If you look at Delhi every November, they are struggling with black smoke. And because the governments are different, they are not actually cohesively being able to educate or provide a solution to the farmers. But if you give them an alternative, they'll adapt to it. So we need to also consider those kinds of people who are also having a major impact on things, and alternatives to different kinds of farming as well, indoor farming, etc.
Yeah, so yep. I think it's a super interesting debate. The point that you actually raised right now, it's very delicate, right? Because how do you make economically challenged sections of society aware and care about environmental issues, why their priority is just to live on a daily or weekly basis. So I think also in this particular debate, it's definitely important to take into account the fact that we need innovators to think about also this grassroots level and to say, okay, this is a technology that not only is good for environment, but also accommodates the economic and financial constraints of this particular population. And what you just raised is also a very important point to say that mechanically, unfortunately, climate change tends to affect the most vulnerable, and these populations are the most hit by the climate crisis. So we definitely need to also have, as Dr. Sonny said, a kind of a bottom-up approach as well. I will open the floor to each and every one of you for one last time, answering one question and also giving you the freedom to add one last piece of information or advice that you would like to give to the attendees. So if you could, give your opinion on where do you think we'll be in 10, 20 years from now? How hopeful, pessimistic, optimistic are you about our climate action timeline? And again, after that, you can feel free to share any message that you would like to share across. We'll start with Sumesh. Go ahead. You're on mute, Sumesh.
Yeah, so to summarize everything that I have been thinking through the process of listening to the other panelists, one thing that I'm looking at the future, I'm a very hopeful person, and I think humans have always found a way, whether if you look back at 1970s when they said the population expansion wouldn't actually have enough food to produce, and then you had the Green Revolution. So humans will eventually find a way, but as individuals, we can't rely on finding the way. We need to take the action. And as governments, I think they need to become more trendy, more connected to what's happening at the roots and understand behavior. So for example, how Facebook impacts your behavior today is completely through gamification of things. Why doesn't the government take up a similar process, introduce gamification for going green, and maybe in return you get something. So that is so innovative things that have been tried in other places have not been tried here, or can be actually looked onto to actually improve the entire process. So I am very hopeful about the future. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sumesh. I think you brought a very original point of view as a designer yourself, and on how the companies, especially through marketing and sales, can actually have an impact on awareness and behavior of their audience. So thank you so much.